So, the ball's in play. We're playing polo here. Jillian Johnston was on a bit of a breakaway there, though. She leaves the ball behind, and it's picked up by Sugar. Erskine turns it back around on the boards. Sugar working his way down the field now. Getting away from that hook. No, he can't quite do it. Julio does get the best of him. Now, coming in, it is Tincho Merlos. Tincho sending the ball down, trying to get it away from... All right, so penalty number 5 from the spot. Julio hits it one time way down past midfield, down the middle, looking for Jillian Johnston. Jillian has a step on her man. Jillian checks up, centers that ball back, can't quite get a hold of it, and it's going to be Tincho Merlos. Tincho gets a hold of that ball. Tincho now loses it to Jeff Hall. Jeff gives the ball back over to Julio. Jeff trying to fight Sugar. Erskine comes in. Sugar with the back shot. Jillian coming back around, but it's going to be Tincho Merlos. Tincho gets that ball moving down the field. Tincho checking his surroundings. Tincho checking down now. Jeffy Hall right there, putting the pressure on him. Tincho moves that ball back to the middle, taking his time. He's got Sugar Erskine right there to help him out. Tincho taking his time, not being defended just yet, working the ball down the field now, fires a shot down there looking for Sugar Erskine. Sugar being shaded by Jillian Johnston. Coming in, the whistle sounds. Tincho walks up to it, puts that ball along the ground and straight through the middle of the post. Getting on the board first here today, making the score 1-0, and Chucker number 1. Johnston gets a piece of it. Scott Woods now, and now it's going to be Jeffy Hall with the back shot. Jeff's shot now picked up by Tincho Merlos. Goes Tincho Merlos, sends a beautiful neck shot down the field looking for Carluccio Ariano. Carluccio and Morrison. Carluccio checking down now, trying to get away from Morrison. Carluccio sends a neck shot back underneath the horse, but it's going to be Sugar to come in and pick up the play. Sugar, Erskine checking all the way down. Jeffy Hall waiting on Shugs. Shugs tapping that ball forward. Erskine working his way back to the right of the defenders. He gives the ball back to Tincho Merlos. Tincho drags it out of there. Tincho decides to take it around the long way. Now flips that ball back, trying to get it to Sugar, but it's going to be Julio Ariano. Coming in, Tincho gets around the defenders, working his way back through the middle of the pack. Tincho checking down now, trying to keep that ball moving to the north. Tincho reaches underneath his horse, but we have a whistle stopping the clock. Jeffy Hall. Jeff taps that ball into play. Jeffy now working it forward. He's being defended by Sugar. He leaves the ball now for Julio Ariano. Julio bringing that ball forward, working his way down the middle of the field. Julio works his way past midfield, checks up just a bit to get a better shot on it, sending it up there for Jillian Johnston. Jillian dropping on the line, picking up the ball, tries to come back on the near side, couldn't quite do it. The Ariano brothers come together. Oh, Sugar. Sugar Erskine sending that ball way down the middle. Looking good. He's being chased down by Jeff Hall. Sugar flips that ball underneath the horse's neck, but not quite. Julio taps that ball once and now hits the next shot over to the left-hand side of the field, looking for Jeffy Hall. Jeff is there. Hall working his way down the field, looking good in between all those defenders. He picks that ball up on the fly, on the bounce, gives it up to Jillian Johnston. Jillian trying to work her way through the pack, giving the ball back over to Sugar, or excuse me, to Jeff. Now it's going to be Julio Ariano, who takes that ball straight on through, and now tying it up, a 1 goal apiece. On the back line doing the honors. Julio pounds it one time down the middle, looking for Jillian. Jillian Johnston drops on that line, picks it up nicely. Jillian working her way back to the middle. Johnston, can she get there? Carluccio Ariano taps the ball back into play, brother of Julio. Carluccio keeping it to himself, working it down the right-hand side of the field. Now decides to run with the ball a little bit here. He looks around for some help. Morrison coming in to make a defensive play. Morrison gets a piece of it. Can't quite do it there, and it's going to be Jeff Hall, and the whistle sound. Julio taps that ball into play, back to the left. Jeffy working hard to keep Sugar away from Julio. Julio will do the honors, hitting this 40-yard shot on goal that will be defended. Jeff, he puts that ball high in the air, but it's wide to the right. So will Carluccio Ariano taps the ball back into play. Carluccio hits that ball back over to the right, looking for Tincho Merlos. Tincho finds that ball with a lot of angle. Tincho, one time, bangs that ball down the boards, looking for one of his offensive players. Scott Woods comes in and picks up the ball. Scott has that ball, working it forward. Now Carluccio comes in and he steals the ball away from his brother. Carluccio breaking out of there, looking good. Carluccio, Ariano being chased down by Jeffy. He leaves the ball behind, and it's going to be Morrison. Morrison decides to turn it. Nick Morrison. Open back shot right there along the back line. Who's going to get to it? Looks like it's going to be Suggs. Sugar turns the ball all the way around. Can't quite tell where the ball is. There it is. All right, they send it way down the field looking for Morrison, I believe. Morrison on a breakaway now, working hard to get down there. Yeah, seriously. Scott Woods, 30 seconds remain here. Morrison trying to check up and come back to that ball. Can he find it? Not quite. It's going to be Tincho Merlos. Tincho with the tail shot, but Jeffy is there. Jeff Hall looking to sting him right here. Jeff Hall sends that ball straight on through, taking the lead and ending Sugar number 1 with a score of 2-1. So we'll start Sugar number 2 with a throw in back in the middle. All right, so we're back in the middle, getting ready to start Chucker number 2. Umpire asking both teams to stay on their side of the line. Got some antsy horses out there. All right, Jillian busting out of the throw, and who's going to get to it? Looks like it's going to be Jeff Hall. Jeffy, he's got Jillian down deep, waiting for the pass. Jillian checking up. Trying to get to the ball, it's going to be Scott Woods for the defense. Scott takes a swing at it, but it is backed out of there by Tincho Merlos. Tincho, his shot now picked up by Morrison. Morrison sends it back down over to Jeff Hall. Jeff with a little next shot. Jeffy putting it down there. But it looks like it's going to go wide over the back. All right, so Carluccio Ariano taps the ball into play and immediately gives it over to Tincho Merlos. Tincho fires a next shot back over for Sugar Erskine. Sugar all by himself. Uh-oh, that ball takes a bounce, but he's going to be followed up by Tincho. Tincho, what a pass right back down there for Sugar Erskine. Sugar by himself on a breakaway. Jillian moving in for the defense. Sugar is there. Sugar inside the red zone, leaves it behind. Tincho can't quite get there. And the ball is cleared out of danger by Jeff Hall. Jeff, his shot over the back line, and I think Tincho making his approach. That horse helping him out. He hits that ball high and right through the middle. What a nice shot. Now making the score 2 goals apiece here in Chucker number 2. So we got a set of deuces on the board. All right, the ball's back into play. It's stopped in the middle. Who's going to come out of there with it? Looks like it's going to be Tincho Merlos. Tincho takes it forward, first on the near side, now the offside. Tincho in between 2 red jerseys. He sends it down, and Sugar Erskine is there. Sugar picking up the play. Checking down now. Shugs looking for some help. He decides to run this ball through the pack. Sugar can't quite keep control of it, and Jeff Hall comes in. Jeffy puts it underneath Tincho's horse. Jeffy now gets that ball moving out, moving his way down the far side of the field. Jeffy coming together with Tincho Merlos. He checks down. Jeff on the boards. Tincho puts the bump on him. Will do the honors here. Julio makes his approach. Bears down on it. Puts that ball way high in the air, right through the middle of the post, taking back the lead and breaking the tie and making the score 3-2 and chucker number 2. Gonna play, goes all the way through to the back end where it's going to be picked up by Jillian Johnston. Jillian has control of that ball. Jillian moving out in front of the pack, but loses control of the ball. Now coming in is Carluccio Ariano. Carluccio hands the ball back over to Tincho Merlos. Tincho checking down, keeping it to himself. Tincho fires that ball out where Carluccio has a step on his man. Morrison trying to catch him. Carluccio Ariano fires at the goal. Carluccio working hard to get there. Will it go? No, it's just wide over. First horn. Jeff Hall brings that ball back into play. Jeffy now hits a nice shot over to the right-hand side, looking for Julio, who's being covered up by Tincho Merlos. Tincho moves in, tries to get a piece of Julio. Julio gets control of that ball, forcing the defender to get out of his way. Julio sends the ball back over to the middle of the field, looking for Jeffy Hall. Jeff coming in, but Carluccio is there, picking up the ball on the near side. Carluccio Ariano checking down now. Carluccio waiting for some instruction. Carluccio now sends that ball down the boards, looking for Sugar Erskine. Sugar gets some help from Scott, who takes out the defender. Sugar, tail shot, sending it back over to Tincho Merlos. Tincho turning that ball underneath his horse's neck, and it's stolen away by Morrison. Coming in, though, is Sugar Erskine with the back shot, and the whistle sounds. 59 seconds still. Taps that ball back into play. Julio, Morrison covering for him. Julio sends the ball down, looking for Jeff Hall, who comes in on the near side. Jeff flips it back, looking for Jillian, but Carluccio is there for the defense. Carluccio sends it back, and Julio comes in first. Julio Ariano with a tail shot. Tincho gets a piece of it, but it's going to be Jeff Hall with the little tail shot, giving it back over to Julio. Julio sends it back to the middle where Jillian Johnston is there. Jillian coming in. And it's saved by Carluccio Ariano. Carluccio shot. But we have a whistle. Goes in favor of El Caburé. Tincho Merlos taps the ball into play. Tincho at a standstill. Now fires a ball packed back over towards the middle where Sugar Erskine is waiting. Sugar picks up the line, sends it across the field past midfield. Running hard, Sugar Erskine working his way back to the goal mouth. Sugar on a racehorse here. Shugs sends that ball back underneath his horse's neck, but not quite the angle he wanted. Gets the word play. Julio brings it out. Julio keeps control of that ball, sending it down. Julio Ariano sends Jeff Hall down for the pass. Jeff decides to check up and come in behind Julio. Julio still has control. Julio Ariano sends a beautiful neck shot back down the field, but Tincho is waiting. Tincho with a great neck shot of his own, sending the ball back across the field. His shot picked up by Morrison. Morrison with the open back shot. Coming in, Jillian Johnston, but the whistle sounds, stopping the clock. All right, the ball's back into play. Less than 30 seconds remain. Open back shot by Jeff Hall, sending it down, looking for Julio Ariano. Julio picks that ball up. Julio can't stop his brother Carluccio from getting a piece of it. Sugar comes in on the near side. Julio still has control now. Backs that ball back to the center where Tincho waits. Tincho sends that ball out of the goal mouth, out of danger. And that's going to do it for chucker number 2. All right, umpire puts the ball back into play. It's stopped in the middle. Who's going to come out of there with it? Looks like it's going to be Sugar Erskine. Sugar looking around, looking for his players. He checks down over on the board. Shugs now drags it back to the middle. Sugar getting away from the defenders. Shugs takes it back to the right of all the defenders. Sugar now tries to release that ball down. Not quite the distance he wanted. He drops on the line and picks it up himself. Sugar Erskine working his way down. Shugs checking down in between the pack. In between all those red players, sends that ball straight through the middle of the goal, putting a goal on the board, tying it up. 3 goals apiece here, and Shocker number 3, set of 3s on the board now. All right, umpire puts the ball back into play. It stops in the front. Jillian Johnston with the back shot, but Tincho Merlos reads the play perfectly. He gets the ball, gets it turned all the way back around. He's got his players out there blocking for him. Whoop. Tincho Merlos keeping control of that ball, working it down the middle of the field. Tincho goes to run past Morrison. Tincho Merlos looking good. Tincho sends that ball right between the middle of the uprights, taking the lead and now breaking the tie, making the score 4-3. All right, umpire puts that ball back into play. It stopped in the middle. Who's going to come out of there? Tincho Merlos. Tincho with a pump fake. Now drags the ball back to the left of the defenders. Tincho waiting for the defenders to commit. Tincho now takes it back to the right, getting some help from Carluccio. Tincho Merlos keeps that ball to himself, hooks up with Jillian there, and still has control of the ball. Tincho, but Carluccio backs him up. Carluccio sends the ball down. Morrison trying to get there. Morrison, can he get to the ball? He cannot. The ball goes right through the middle, and now makes the score 5-3. Picking up that loose ball and shooting it from about 67 yards out. 4 minutes left to go till the first horn. Umpire puts the ball back into play once again. It stopped in the front end, and it's going to be Sugar Erskine. Shugs has control, tapping that ball forward. Now Sugar working his way back to the right of the defenders. He's got Julio waiting for him. Sugar now running past the first defender. Sends a next shot back down there, looking for Carluccio. Carluccio, that ball takes a bounce, and Scott Woods is there to put the ball right through the goal and now make the score 6-3 in Chucker number 3. All right, the ball's back into play. Jillian Johnston picks it up. Jillian letting that horse run, but Scott is there to put the bump on her and get the little back shot, setting up Tincho Merlos. Tincho gets hooked on the play, leaving the ball behind. Now Carluccio with a little back shot of his own, but Julio, whoop, goalpost down. Julio Ariano makes his approach, wind up, and puts that ball along the ground, looking to thread the needle, but Tincho gets a hold of it, stopping the ball, taking it out of the goal mouth. Now, Tincho Merlos still has control. Tincho working his way out of danger. Catches that ball on the bounce. Now, letting that horse open up, sends it down, looking for Carluccio. No, it looks like he's going to run on and pick up his own pass. Tincho can't get a hold of that bouncing ball. Carluccio comes in. Carluccio sends the next shot back to the middle where Tincho is waiting on the near side. Tincho flips that ball back around, taking it forward, but the whistle sounds. Julio taps the ball back into play. He's got Jeff Hall running out in front to run some interference. Jeff now breaking for the pass. Julio tries to get a hold of it. Not quite what he wanted. Took some turf with it. He's still got control of the ball. Sugar shading him. Now Julio runs off to the right. Shugs takes that ball forward, and Tincho is there to pick up the pieces. Tincho Merlos turning that ball around, taking it around the long way. Cuts it back, comes off a horse, and it's going to be Carluccio Ariano to pick up the play. Carluccio finds the ball, now working his way along the back line. Carluccio trying to keep it away from Morrison. Morrison does get a piece of it, and Sugar is there. Shugs turns that ball all the way back around. Julio Ariano down there. Julio taps that ball back into play. He doesn't have a whole lot of real estate here. He decides to run that ball to the right. Julio lets the ball come off the board. Sugar coming in, trying to make the hook, but Julio swings through it. Julio, Tincho, whoa. Julio, oh, that was going to be awesome. Morrison gets a piece of it, and Jeffy Hall comes in. Whoa. Tincho Merlos now makes his approach, winds up, puts that ball high in the air, right through the middle, board and now makes the score 7-3 here in Shucker number 3. As torn, the ball is put back into play. Who's going to get there? It looks like it's going to be 43. All right, umpire puts the ball back into play. It's stopped in the middle. Coming out of there is Tincho Merlos. Tincho letting that horse open up. Tincho working his way back to the middle. He's being chased down by Morrison. Tincho, ooh, that ball takes a bounce over his mallet, and Julio makes the back shot. Coming in, Sugar got a piece of it, but it's going to be picked up by Julio Arellano. Julio sending it down, looking for Jillian Johnston. Coming in for the defense, though, is Scott Wood. Scott takes that ball forward on the near side. Scott now tries for the next shot, but it's going to be Tincho Merlos to put that ball over the boards, out of play. Julio get that ball out of the throw, and Julio Arellano gets it stolen by brother Carluccio. Carluccio is shot over to the boards. Julio gets control of it once again. Julio Arellano. Sugar comes in, gets a little back shot coming in. Jeff Hall is there. Jeff pushes the defender over the board, and they back that ball. First one to get to it is Nick Morrison. Morrison checking down now. Morrison decides to turn it. Nick. Now Morrison working his way down the left-hand side of the field. He gets called off. Julio comes in and picks up the play. Julio Arellano trying to keep it away from brother Carluccio. Now Sugar is there. Sugar tapping it forward, not being defended. Sugar turns it all the way back around. Now Carluccio trying to block Julio. But Shugs makes that next shot, sending it over there for Carluccio Arellano. Carluccio picks it up on the near side, now gives the ball back over to Tincho Merlos. Tincho keeps it away from Jillian and lets that horse open up. Tincho catching the ball on the bounce, sending it back to the middle. Morrison trying to get there. Tincho Merlos looking good in the red. And Tincho sends that ball straight on through, scoring the goal, making the score now 8-3. All right, the ball's back into play. Let's see, Jeff Hall leaves it behind for Julio. Julio gets control of that ball, sends it underneath Sugar's horse. Julio dragging it forward, now leaves it for Jeffy. Jeff Hall working his way forward. Jeff reaching down, trying to keep it away from the defenders. Defended. Julio sends that ball high, but it's wide to the right, so we'll have a knock-in. All right, Carluccio Arellano in that different helmet sends the ball over to the right-hand side for Tincho Merlos. Tincho, one time, bangs it back out there looking for Carluccio. Carluccio comes in, picks that ball up nice on the near side. Carluccio riding hard, trying to get the best of Morrison. Morrison, though, gets to him, gets called off, and Jillian makes that back shot, setting up Julio Arellano. Julio sends that ball back past midfield once again. Coming in for the defense, though, is going to be Tincho Merlos. Tincho puts the ball over the boards. All right, umpire puts the ball back into play. It stops in the middle. Julio fighting for it. Julio reaches back behind his horse, gets control of that ball, and busts it out of there. Julio now checking down, looking to send a next shot back over. Julio in between two white jerseys. Shugs makes the hook, but it's picked up by Jeff Hall. Jeffy taking that ball, working it forward, trying to work his way back to the goal mouth. Jeffy now fires at the goal. What a shot, sending it straight on through. Picking up some momentum and closing the gap to within 4, making the score 8-4. Umpire asking everybody to line up properly. They put the ball back into play. Tincho's got control of it. Tincho Merlos trying to take it out of the pack, but the drive from the spot. Tincho taps that ball back into play right down the middle of the field. He's got Jeffy waiting for him now. Tincho takes it back to the right-hand side. Tincho keeping that ball to himself, working his way down the field, running past Julio, working it back to the middle. Can he get there? Ticho Melos sends that ball. Jeff Hall brings the ball back into play. Jeffy working it straight over to the left-hand side. Jeffy now decides to run with it a little bit. Sugar there to put some pressure on him. Jeff Hall checks up, still has control of the ball. Jeffy in between two white jerseys. Now Jeffy working it back to the right of the defender. Sugar still trying to get a piece of him. Jeffy sends it down and still working it back to the right. Jeff Hall now fires that ball down, looking for Jillian Johnston, coming in for the defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Penalty number 2 goes in favor of Coca-Cola. Julio walks up to it. Julio half shot, puts that ball right between the posts and closing the gap to within 3, and now making the score 8-5 in Chucker number 4. 125 to the first order. 125 plus 30. Umpire puts the ball back in. It's stopped in the front. Jillian makes a little back shot. Johnston trying to get to it. Sugar, though, gets away from the defender, but the ball is left behind, and Julio has it on the near side. Julio, that doesn't happen much. Ooh, back shot. Morrison is there to pick up the play. Nick Morrison trying to get out of there, and the whistle sounds. Julio taking this penalty number 5 from the spot. Julio taps that ball back into play. Sugar there to put the pressure on him. Julio works it back to the right of Shugs. Julio decides to keep that ball to himself. Julio now running his way back around. Ooh, not quite where he wanted to put that one. Sugar's there, though. Sugar, Erskine, checks his 6 o'clock position, now puts the ball down the boards, but Jeffy is there to pick up the play. Jeff Hall running through the pack. Jeffy trying to work his way into that goal mouth. Back behind the ball, waiting to bring it back into play. Now, Carluccio taps that ball back in to the right. Carluccio, he's got Ticho just off to his left. Carluccio finds some space to run past the first couple of defenders. Now, Carluccio's got Sugar out there breaking for the pass. Carluccio checks down. Jillian right there on his hip. Carluccio checking down on the boards in between two red jerseys. Carluccio now fires that ball back to the middle, but brother Julio is waiting on it. Julio picks up the line. Checks his 6 o'clock position now. 30 seconds remain. Julio's back shot to be picked up by Jeff Hall. Jeffy right down there waiting for Morrison to go forward. He's got Morrison and Jillian down the field. Jillian is there to jump on the line. Jillian Johnston picks that ball up on the fly, sending it over. Morrison tries to get to it, but it's going to be sent over to the boards by Ticho, and the ball hits the board. So that'll do it for Chucker number 4. We'll be back in just a minute to start Chucker 5 with the throw-in from... All right, the ball's back into play. Picked up immediately by Jeff Hall. Jeff hits a tail shot, trying to get it out there for Jillian Johnston, but it is Ticho Merlos to clean that ball out of the middle of the field. Ticho, his shot across the field now. Next shot down the boards, trying to get it to Sugar Erskine. Sugar is there to pick up the line. Sugar checking down now, waiting for some help from his teammates. He sends Scott Woods forward. Shugs loses the ball. All right, the ball's back into play, goes all the way, bounces to the north where it's going to be picked up by Jeffy Hall. Jeffy with the open back shot, trying to give it over to Julio. Julio running hard to get there, but he's taken out of the play, and the whistle sounds. Right, Julio coming around to take this penalty 4. He bears down on that ball, sends it high in the air, but it's knocked out of the air by Ticho Merlos. Ticho picking up the play, sending it down the field. Now Ticho trying to keep it away from Morrison. Morrison makes the hook, and Jillian gets a hold of that ball. She gives it back, but it's going to be Sugar Erskine to pick up the play. Shugs running it down the middle of the field. Shugs in between two red jerseys now. Shugs fires that ball, trying to keep it away from Morrison. Morrison working hard to get to Sugar. Sugar takes the ball on the near side, sends it back to the middle where Jeffy Hall is waiting. Jeff hits a nice tail shot where Julio is waiting for the ball. Left. The ball. Grassy knoll. All right, the ball's back into play. Jeffy has control. Jeff dragging that ball forward. Now Sugar trying to make a play on Jeff. Jeff avoiding the hook. Jeff can't quite get a hold of it. Julio's there to back him up. Julio on the near side. Now Morrison. Morrison. But the ball is back. Sugar comes in, steals that ball. And the whistle sounds. Shot on goal. Tincho now making his approach. Winds up, sends that ball high in the air. And right through the middle of the post. Increasing the gap, making the score 9-5. The old Dolly Parton. All right, so the ball rolls just over the back. Okay. All right. Jeff Hall gets away from the defender. Jeffy out in front on a breakaway, but he leaves the ball behind. Coming in, Carluccio Ariano makes the back shot, and Sugar's there to pick up the play. Shugs, open back shot, trying to set up Tincho, but it's picked up by Julio Ariano. Julio sends that ball back. Julio trying to get there. Julio taps that ball. Little tail shot right there. And Jeffy. Oh, what a bad luck right there. Jeff's shot goes. Just got the clock on the little handheld clock over here. So Carluccio tapping that ball into play. Now Carluccio working his way back to the right. He's being defended by brother Julio. Carluccio looking to run away from Julio. Does a nice job so far. Carluccio checking down, lets that ball come off the boards. He's in between two red jerseys. Carluccio Ariano trying to keep that ball. He gets hooked on the play, and it's going to be picked up by Scott. Scott, his shot down. Julio waiting for Scott. Scott comes through, busting through the tacks. Now Scott working his way back to the goal. Can't quite get it done, and it's going to be Julio Ariano for the defense. Julio sends a neck shot dangerously back across the field, where Morrison is there. Morrison sends that ball out to be picked up by Jeff Hall. Jeffy sending it down, looking for Jillian Johnson. Jillian flying in there, coming in to pick up the line, but Sugar makes the back shot. Jeff Hall is there to pick up the play. Jeffy reaching back underneath the horse. Tincho wins the play, though. Tincho with the back shot, setting up Sugar Erskine. Shugs flying over. He's got control of this ball and the line. Sending it down. Jillian Johnson there to put pressure on Shugs. Sugar sends the ball over to the boards where it takes a hop, goes off the playing field. So we'll have a throw to number 5. All right, the ball's put back into play. It's stopped in the middle. Who's going to come out of there with it? It looks like it's going to be Carluccio. Carluccio Ariano gets ridden wide by Morrison. Morrison makes the back shot. Whoa. And Carluccio is there to pick up the play. Carluccio Ariano. He's got Tincho by himself waiting for the ball. Tincho down there to pick up the pass. Tincho Merelos checking up. Cuts that ball back. Almost puts it in. Julio brings that ball back into play, tapping it to the left into the goal mouth. Julio Ariano, he's got Jeff Hall right there to help him out. Julio takes it back to the right of the defender. Ariano, Julio, he sends Jeff Hall breaking. Jeff's running hard. Julio now releases the ball down the middle, looking for a goal from there. It's got the wood, not quite the angle. And that one's going to roll harmlessly over the back line. So all right, they do beat the horn. 30 seconds remain. What's happening? Jeff Hall walks up to it. Jeffy puts that ball along the ground, and it stopped, picked up, and Sugar Erskine is there. Sugar's running that ball out. He's got less than 30 seconds to go. Sugar on the near side, back to the offside. Sugar sends that ball down, trying to keep it off the boards. Sugar Erskine flying past midfield, but that ball is going to hit the boards. No? Tincho Merlos. His shot right down there. That's going to do it for chucker number 5.
I don't know, Dad. It was hooked up when I got here.
I hooked it up. Yeah. Had to splice it.
All right, the ball's back into play. Starting chucker. Oh, we didn't do an OT prediction, Claire. No OT, okay. Sugar sends that ball over everybody's head. The wind did catch it, but it's going to be a tail shot coming off a horse right there. And Tincho trying to get to it. Tincho Merlos picks that ball up and sends it right through the goal. Getting to... All right, they put the ball back into play. It's going to be picked up by Scott. Watch out. Scott sends that ball back over to the boards. He comes back in to pick up his own line. Does so on the near side, leaves it behind, and it's going to be Julio Arellano. Julio, his shot stolen away by Jeff Hall. Jeffy comes in, picks that play up. Jeffy on the near side. Now, Jeff Hall forcing Carluccio to get out of the way. He sends the ball down for Morrison. Morrison hits that ball one time to the right over there for Julio Arellano. Julio keeps it to himself, working it to the right of the defender. Julio Arellano working his way back to the middle. Now, Julio running down the middle of the field, checks up, turns that ball back around. Sugar makes the hook, gets a piece of the ball, but Julio is there. Julio turns it back behind Tincho Merlos. Tincho getting out of the way. Julio sends the ball back through. Now, Julio working his way, leaves the ball behind, and it's going to be Sugar Erskine to pick up the play. Shugs decides to turn it. He's got the time to do so. Sugar taking his time. Now, fires that ball back to the middle of the field looking for Scott. Jillian, though, comes in for the defense. Mariano taps that ball back into play. Sugar's waiting on him. Julio now bears down on it, sends it high into the middle of the pack. Trying to get there is Morrison. Morrison drags that ball forward. Morrison. Open back shot, not quite where he wanted to put that one. Coming in is going to be Morrison. Or, no, excuse me, that's Jeff Hall. Thank you. Blanking out there for a second. Jeffy working both sides of the horse. Now leaves the ball behind. Coming in is Morrison with the open back shot. Sending it over to the goal mouth where Jeffy Hall picks up the play. Jeff trying to run it through traffic, but Tincho strips the ball away from him. Tincho Merlos, open back shot right back over to Jeff Hall. Jeffy's shot picked up by Sugar Erskine. Sugar taking that ball directly across the field. Shugs trying to make something happen here. Sugar Erskine running down the sideboards. Shugs, I think, put the ball over the sideboard, so we'll have a throw in from the boards to the center. 3 minutes, 40 seconds till the first horn, 3:40. All right, the ball's back into play. Julio misfires, and Sugar jumps up there to sting him. Sugar Erskine gets on a breakaway here. He's being chased down by Jeff Hall. Sugar Erskine fires the next shot back at the goal. Hits the flag off the top of the post. All right. Julio brings the ball back into play. Julio Arellano now fires it up there looking for Jillian Johnson. Jillian moves over and picks up the line and the ball. Jillian tries to get it down there for Jeffy, but it's going to be Morrison to come in. Morrison dragging that ball forward. Morrison lets the ball come off the boards. He gets hooked, and Carluccio leaves the ball behind where Jeff Hall is waiting. Jeff Hall fires the next shot back over there looking for Jillian. Jillian trying to get to it. Jillian Johnson picks that ball up. Jillian working her way back to the goal mouth. Can she get there? Tincho one time bangs that ball to the left-hand side of the field. Nobody sees it yet. Now Julio is there. Julio comes in for the defense. Julio taking his time. He's going to turn this ball back around because he can. Julio Arellano working it back to the middle of the field. Morrison trying to keep the defender away from him now. Julio shot down to Jeff Hall. Jeffy drops on that line, drops on the ball, taking it right into the middle of the goal. Jeff Hall Can he do it? Jeffy right there. Jillian. Ticho sends that ball over there looking for Scott, but it's going to be stolen away by Carluccio Ariano. Carluccio, his shot over to the boards. He checks up now. Carluccio slaps the next shot down the boards where Julio picks the play up. Julio Ariano looking to put one more on the board before the end of the game here. Julio working hard. He leaves the ball, and it's going to be Jeffy Hall to pick up the play. Jeff working his way back to the pack, gives it over to Jillian. Jillian flips the ball towards the goal mouth, and Sugar sends that ball out of danger. Coming in, Morrison tries for a back shot there, doesn't quite connect, and it's going to be picked up by Carluccio Ariano. Carluccio running through the defender. Carluccio looking good by himself. Carluccio Ariano shoots that ball to the goal, sends it right